Welcome, everyone. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome. I'm Kate Cimino, and I serve as Executive Director of the Citizens League, and I am so glad that you are here with us today. I'm glad you're taking a moment, whether you're getting a bite to eat or just taking a break in your day, to be with us for this quick hour. We have a great event with great speakers. It's going to be real, it's going to be inspiring, and I know it will leave you ready to head into the rest of your day with really good energy, and I'm glad that you are here. We do a lot of things at the Citizens League. As many of you know, we are a nonpartisan nonprofit connecting people in public policy, and we do a lot of stuff. And I have to say, though, that one of my favorite things that we do is this event, MN Civic Leader, because it's so simple. It's so simple. It's about the good things that can happen when we, each of us, show up, step out, we share our gifts with our community. And it matters. It really, really matters, especially in tough times and times of deep division and really big challenges. It matters when we show up, when you show up. Our neighborhoods, our state, our communities depend on this. People showing up with whatever they have, whatever they can, to build relationships, listen to others, create the future that we want to see one step at a time. This is civic leadership, and it matters. So the point of this campaign and this event is to celebrate just that. The idea of MN Civic Leader is really simple. We asked people all around the state, think of someone that you know who's going above and beyond in tough times, and then lift up and share their story as part of this campaign. And we had loved, our team loved seeing all the nominations come in. We have everybody posted on our website who came in as a nominee. We have quotes from their nominator about them and a little bit about their bio. We've got a ton of beautiful smiling faces on there and photos, so please take a look. And we've loved hearing these stories. And so today, what we're gonna do is we're gonna hear about some of those stories. You're gonna have a chance to meet a few of our nominees. This wasn't a contest, there wasn't winners. It's more about celebrating all the people, including many folks who have joined us here today for our event, who are stepping out and making our communities stronger. So thank you. At the end, we're going to show a slideshow with all of our nominees. So I really invite you to stick around to the end. You're going to really enjoy that. You're going to get to see those smiling faces and read a little bit more about the work they're doing. So before we move on and get into our program today, I would love to have you open up your chat box. You're all pros by now, and share with us what is one way that you have seen members of your community showing up this past year, to help others, to go out there above and beyond, to do something that matters in their community. What have you seen? What have you witnessed? Or what have you maybe done yourself? Maybe it was something you did that was the first time you did it and you feel good about it. So drop that in the chat. We'd love to hear and read a little bit more about that. I'm excited for our program, but first we have sponsors for today's program and for this campaign and event. We love our sponsors. And first, I want to give a big thanks to Target, our champion sponsor. And especially, we had a team of Citizens at Target volunteers that worked with our Citizens League team behind the scenes to launch and create this event and help us out with all the nominees, the stories, the photos, the examples. And we loved working with you all, Target folks. Thank you so much. It was wonderful to work with you, and really grateful to Target for that partnership. And then we also want to thank our gold sponsors, CenterPoint Energy and Comcast, and our bronze sponsors, Catholic Charities of St. Paul and Minneapolis, and Jeff Peterson. Really grateful to our sponsors and everyone who has been supporting the league throughout this campaign. And now I want to welcome Lisa Wager from Target, one of our great friends and partners of the league, to say a few words to kick off our event. Lisa, if you join me.
Thank you so much, Kate, and good afternoon, everyone. It is such an honor to be here with this inspiring group of Minnesota civic leaders today. On behalf of Target, I just want to congratulate all the nominees. Reading through all of your nominations on the website has me so optimistic for the future and excited about where we are with civic engagement in Minnesota today. The work that you're doing is helping make our communities, our state, and our democracy stronger. Since its founding, Target has been a strong supporter of civic engagement, and we are proud to have been a partner of the Citizens League for over 10 years. So thank you so much to the Citizens League, its staff, its members, and volunteers for all of the incredible work that you do, but especially for nurturing a culture of civic engagement here in Minnesota. With that, I will hand it back to Kate.
Thank you, Lisa. Really appreciate you and the Citizens at Target crew. Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, this is the second annual MN Civic Leader, which some of you know, and we are so thrilled to have Maria Regan Gonzalez, Mayor of Richfield, joining us today as our host and moderator of our conversation. Maria was elected in 2018 as Mayor of Richfield. She was Richfield's youngest mayor and first mayor of color. She is the first Latina mayor in Minnesota history. She is nonpartisan and not affiliated with any political party. In Richfield, Maria, we had a great conversation a couple weeks ago, and I loved hearing that she's really committed to bringing together people of Richfield from all different perspectives and backgrounds. It's a great community, and she's committed to making it one community of Richfield, made up of all these beautiful different perspectives and experiences. Maria is, in her work, she's dedicated to advancing racial and social justice issues, improving health outcomes, and creating more equitable systems and policies. She is passionate about mentoring youth, women, and young leaders, especially leaders of color, Indigenous leaders. And Maria, I can't think of a better person to help us host this event today, where we're really talking about exactly that. How do we celebrate these friends and neighbors, mentor, support, encourage others to step out and uplift those around them? So I am thrilled to welcome Maria to the Zoom stage, and please join me in welcoming Maria.
Thank you so much, Kate. I'm super excited to be here and to lift up our leaders.
Awesome. So Maria, oh, you know what? Let's do this before we, I want people to learn more about you, but I really want to read a few of the comments that came in from the chat first, because I know we've all been skimming that as they come in. We've heard a lot about food, restaurants donating food to those in need, neighbors leaving boxes of food in hallways for others, especially neighbors who have COVID. This is really meaningful. Patrice pointing out that people from all income levels gave to causes important to them, to nonprofits during the pandemic. True. And Al from Centerpoint, thank you for sharing, Al. Close to 90 volunteers from Centerpoint and the community planting wildflowers on the Mississippi just north of downtown Minneapolis. Thank you, Al. So great. And I know people have lots of other examples as well. Maria, I want our attendees today to learn a little bit more about you. You and I had the pleasure of talking a few weeks ago, and it just deepened my certainty that you are the perfect person for this conversation today. But tell us a little bit about, in Richfield, you clearly have to work in collaboration with others who you may not see eye to eye. You may not be coming at things from the same angle. Or have the same perspectives. How does that feel? And what do you have to draw upon to bridge those kind of differences to work toward creating a better city?
Absolutely. Well, I definitely think that the skills and the ability to collaborate across difference is so important. Unfortunately, more important now than ever. I think we are in a place in our country and in our state where the difference between the haves and the have-nots is so huge. And We've just had, cultural leaders, political leaders really emboldening people to be disrespectful with one another, to not work across difference, but to really hunker down into your own camp and vilify someone that doesn't think exactly the same thing as you. And then we have social media platforms creating these echo chambers so that you really have so much less exposure and communication with people that are different from yourself. So it's just so important that we're pushing ourselves outside of that to say, how can I connect with someone who might not see eye to eye with me? So the way that I do that, I am nonpartisan. So this is something that I do proudly, is working with people across difference. And while we might not see eye to eye on a specific topic, I do think it's very important to understand the perspective of that other person. What is their self-interest? Why are they showing up? They're showing up because they care about something. And so what is that something that they care about that motivates them to show up into this conversation? And the way that we've been able to move so many things forward in Richfield is finding things that we all can agree upon and say, let's start here. So for example, we all want to make sure that our city, everybody feels comfortable and welcomed in our city. We want to have a city that's thriving, where everybody can call home. That's something we can all agree upon. So let's start there. Or let's start in making sure that our students and our young leaders have what they need. Now, while we might disagree on what that looks like, we really try to identify what is that common goal that we can focus on together, versus starting from this place of divisiveness and difference. The other thing I'll say is people have to be willing to engage in ways that are respectful to one another. And there are times where you might have to say, this engagement is not healthy, and people have to be willing to be respectful and communicate and be in that space of tension and difficulty when you don't see eye to eye. But unfortunately, like I've said, sometimes people aren't willing to go there, and you need to be able to have people on both sides that can sit in that space together of tension and difference and find a common place to start from.
Maria, you have shared that you're really passionate about inspiring others, mentoring, encouraging people to step into their leadership, even and especially at a young age where others may be telling them you're not ready, you should wait longer. And you're saying, no, you're ready, go for it, do it. How do you use your platform as mayor and your other roles in the community to amplify those voices and encourage folks to step into their leadership?
I do a couple things. So one, I share my own story. I am completely a non-traditional politician. I'm literally just a woman, a neighbor that said, I want to make a difference in my community. And I realized that making a change, I could be most effective at the local level, but I had never knocked on a door. I had never worked on a political campaign. But I knew that there was people who knew how to do that. And so I just share my story like, hey, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to not know exactly how to do everything. But I believe in you, and encourage other people to do so. But leading by example and sharing my story is one way. And letting people know you don't have to be perfect. The only way that you can grow your leadership is by practicing it. You can read all the books you want, but you really have to practice it, and just know you may fail, you may fall, but you're going to learn and you're going to grow in that process. And then now, as I am a leader in so many different ways, and I do have this platform as mayor, I use my platform every day. And I say, this is not mine, Maria's personal platform. This is a platform for our community to really get their voices heard. So anything I do, I don't say, I've done this, it's me, because one, it's not me. And two, it's an opportunity to say, hey, I have this airtime and I want to lift up the voices of our tremendous leaders who have been leading the work. So regardless of what it is, I use that to say, all right, let's put the community leaders front and center, and then they get to practice also. But then you grow that collective leadership. And that to me is true leadership, when you foster and grow the leadership of others around you.
I love that idea of practice. We don't talk about that very much in the public and civic space in leadership, and that idea of that you need to practice something to get better at it. And a piece of that is the acknowledgement that it's okay not to be perfect, and it's even okay to stumble or mess something up, or feel like you may have failed, but it's every step forward makes a difference in practicing. I love that. Well, I know we're excited to meet our panelists today, and these are some folks that we invited from our nominees to come in and just share a little bit more about their stories. And I wish we could have invited everybody, because that would have been an amazing and huge conversation. But I hope that today we hear some themes and threads from our speakers that connect to your story, Maria, that connect to work that each of us has been witnessing and experiencing in our communities. Some themes that we see coming out in civic leadership and in people stepping up. So without further ado, I will pass it over to you to introduce and welcome our guests and lead us through a roundtable conversation.
Absolutely. Well, first, I want to thank our entire community and so many people that are on our call today for nominating folks from across the state for this opportunity, folks who are doing inspiring and amazing work to make sure that Minnesota is a place that is welcoming and inclusive for everybody to live. So we did receive over 40 nominees, and of course it was difficult to narrow down, and we had a great team helping us. But we do have we have two people with us today. We were hoping to have three, but I'm gonna share a little bit more about that. So I'm super excited to have two of them here with us today, and I'm sure that many of the other nominees are here on the call as well. So today I'm joined by Sami Banat and Fatoon Ali, and we were expecting Minnesota Civic Leader Cree Larson to join us, but unfortunately she's unwell, feeling unwell today, and she wasn't able to join us at the last minute. So we hope, Cree, if you're out there listening, we hope you have a quick recovery, and we still want to make sure that we're lifting up your great work. So since Cree wasn't able to be with us today, I'm just going to share a little bit about who she is and her work. So Cree is from Grand Rapids, Minnesota, and she serves as the executive director of First Call for Help, which is a nonprofit that focuses on mental health responses, providing free, confidential crisis intervention and resources to communities in North Central Minnesota. Her nominator refers to her as an amazing advocate for struggling individuals and families, and someone who works tirelessly to connect them with resources to help them in their situation. Cree is a modest, inspiring, and resourceful rural nonprofit leader. Thank you, Cree, for all of your amazing contributions and the work that you've done to support our community. And we really hope you feel better, get well. So I want to congratulate everybody, all the nominees who were nominated for being amazing civic leaders. So I want to transition now to our conversation, and our first leader with us today. I'll be talking with Sami Banat first. So let's start with you, Sami. You are currently a second-year student at McAllister College, and you've been involved in civic life and community since you were in middle school, which is so awesome. And I just want to say that is definitely where I started as well, is in school. So if you know young leaders, please encourage them to get involved in their leadership at a young age, because that really does set them up for success as a leader when they're adults. So can you share a little bit about the types of things that you're involved with at McAllister College and in your community?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I got started back in middle school, like you mentioned. I like to say I was organizing since before I knew what the word organizer meant. But since then, I've just tried to find the different areas where I can engage in community and learn more about my neighbors and their stories and their hopes for the future of our community. I'm really proud to be at McAllister. I think it's a community of people who really believe in service and civic engagement. I think over my time here, I've noticed that the call to be active members of society extends to every corner of MAC, among my classmates, my professors, the staff at the college, and even our senior leadership. It seems everyone feels that need to be engaged and involved, which is a really exciting thing to be a part of. There's always so much organizing going on here, so many different causes that students are working towards. One thing I think I've noticed is that everyone has a place in organizing, and there's something for everyone. You see folks who are leading protests, people who are engaging with leadership, people who are writing letters or drafting infographics, people who are doing the research, and those who are spreading the word. And I have really noticed that there is something for everyone based on their strengths to be involved in important engagement. At Macalester, I had the opportunity last year to serve as the Minnesota State Coordinator for Rock the Vote, which is a nonprofit organization that seeks to engage young people in the political process. So as state coordinator, I was able to organize at Macalester as well as colleges across all of Minnesota in helping students get involved, find out how to register to vote, how to get to the polls, and how to be more engaged in our civic process. Beyond that, I had the opportunity to serve on the Macalester student government last year, and also saw just how exciting it is to be a part of a community that values civic engagement so strongly. Outside of MAC, I've also been able to engage within political campaigns around issues in St. Paul, a variety of different things over the years. And it's just been great getting to know my community better through all these different ways to get involved.
That is so exciting. Wow, that is like a long list of amazing things that you've been doing. Thank you. That's super inspirational. So I have one last question for you. So you were appointed by St. Paul Mayor Melvin Carter to St. Paul's Community First Public Safety Commission. And that commission was really focused on helping rethink the city's emergency response and create new models for public safety. The commission had 48 people on it, and it was led by Citizens League. And by all accounts, Sammy, you are a key contributor to that project, and you contributed as an emerging leader with this complex group of people and these complex issues that have affected all of us, especially here in Minnesota. So you've helped design and facilitate community listening sessions for residents in St. Paul to help shape that commission's recommendations. So can you share a little bit more about your experience and learnings being involved in that tremendously critical work that is going to have not only a short-term impact, but a long-term impact for the community of St. Paul, and that's going to influence cities all over the state and all over the nation?
Yeah, definitely. So it was a great honor to have been appointed to the commission last December by Mayor Carter. We were tasked with looking at the response to calls for public service, nonviolent and non-urgent situations, and how we can kind of reform and change who's responding to those calls. It was my first experience working within actual policy making and within government. So it was a lot of learning for myself and a lot of leaning on the expertise and experience of the many other amazing members of the commission. It was also really great to have been able to work with the Citizens League through this, and they supported our work very strongly. So that was fantastic. But we worked really hard on examining different ways we could respond to these calls for public service, and came up with a set of recommendations that I think are really going to push St. Paul in the right direction. I also felt at a certain point within the time on the commission after the murder of Dante Wright that I saw it as an opportunity to go further and beyond our charge of these calls for service, and to make another change on something I felt was a really important piece of public safety, which is traffic stops. I was able to pull a group of folks together, including President Rivera here at Macalester College, who I had the honor to serve with as well, where we kind of researched these pretextual traffic stops and wrote up a recommendation to end their use in St. Paul. We found that the data showed the success rate of a pretextual traffic stop resulting in an effective search was extremely low, especially when compared to the amount of times that these traffic stops turn into a very dangerous encounter. So we drafted that recommendation, and I was able to get it passed through the commission. And at this point, I'm actively working with both the mayor's office to implement it within the city charter, as well as with County Attorney John Choi and his office, where some of you might have just seen he had a new policy announcement where his office will no longer prosecute charges given in pretextual traffic stops. So it's been really exciting to see the impact of that recommendation that I was able to pass within St. Paul and now across Ramsey County. And I'm just really excited with where it's headed and the rest of the work we have to do on reforming public safety, because I know there are so many leaders in St. Paul who are a part of this commission who are still engaged in this work. And I really look forward to what is to come next with it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sammy. That is super inspiring. And I'll just say the snippets that you shared with us, it just shows a clear example of why it's so important to get our youth. You said you started in middle school and now you are making changes with the work that you just talked about that are going to transform equity in our cities across the state. And you're going to help lead this work nationally. And so we are very proud of you. Thank you for sharing your story. And hopefully that inspires all of us on the call to say, how can we support the leadership of our youth so that they can be the next Sammy and they can continue to do amazing things. So thank you so much, Sammy.
Thank you so much for all of your leadership.
Absolutely. Now I want to welcome Fatoon Ali, who is our next panelist and speaker. It's great to have you with us today, Fatoon. I just want to see, do we have you on the line, Fatoon?
Yes, but I cannot turn on my camera somehow. I don't know why.
Oh, bummer. Okay. Well, I'm glad you're here. So there you are.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, welcome, Fatoon. I have a couple questions for you as well. So as someone who is devoted to empowering immigrant families, you lead the nonprofit Somali Youth and Family Development Center as their executive director. Can you share a little bit about the work that you're doing in the nonprofit that you're running?
The nonprofit that I'm running, I started it at 2009, and I started because as an immigrant, when I came to the country, I struggled a lot. I lost 2 kids of muscular dystrophy. And as a new immigrant, as a mother, as a woman, I was struggling. I was lacking interpretation. I was lacking somebody who could help me understand the system. I was new to America. I didn't speak very much English. I struggled a lot. So I came to Minnesota 2006. And that's when I decided, when I look at the community, that the services for the nonprofit and my vision is to help families get resources and get interpretation and get help and find a way that they can understand the services that are out there for them. So that's the reason I started for the nonprofit.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. That is so emotional, Fatoon. I'm sorry for the loss of your children. That's unimaginable. And it's great to see that in response to the experience that you lived, which no one should have to live, you are making a change in response to that so that nobody else has to go through that. But thank you for sharing that. That's very touching and very powerful.
Thank you.
So my next question for you is, as executive director, as a small business owner, as a realtor and a mother, so you're doing a lot of other things as well. You are working in so many different spaces with so many different people, and you have to bridge divides across difference to advance your work. Can you share a little bit about an unlikely relationship or an unexpected ally that surprised you in doing this work? And how do you make it work? How do you make the spaces to make sure that people have their voices heard? Not only the perspectives that you agree with, but also the perspectives that you might not agree with. And why is this so important?
It is very important for me to do this work. And I have a lot of mentors and a lot of volunteers, a lot of coaches, and that's what gets me do my work. having people help me be accountable and being passionate of the work that I do, seeing a lot of young women having dreams, but they don't know where to go and who to talk to, seeing a lot of single mothers from East Africa, whether their husband is passed on or left from back home, or just got divorced and they're struggling with families. Those are the work that the women and the families that I work with. And the people that help me is, I cannot imagine how many people that I have outside my community and hand my hand and help me a lot. Mickey Mackworth, Dr. Varna Price, Libby. I mean, I have so many people that I cannot name right now that help me become the person that I am. And I do this work as a single mother of 4 kids. I have 4 that are living and beautiful kids, 2 adults. My daughter is going to be 18 next month, so she considers herself an adult. And an 18-year-old and 8 and 6-year-old. So for them to see that I'm their breadwinner and I'm the only one they got right now in their life, I want to see them, they're all born here. And I want them to have the life that I never had, to become people who are contributing to their community. And I work with a lot of young women, between 30 to 35 young girls that are in high school. So I wish I had that, everything that I do is something that I never had. So since I know what I went through, I don't want any women, any young lady to go through what I went through. So I help them get the services and resources and the help and volunteer and to get them where they need to go. So in school, it was hard for me because it was really hard for me because I never went to school back home. So I had to learn English and also go to college and finish associate degree. And I'm doing my bachelor's right now, taking 1 class at a time. And in being immigrant, you have to learn the culture, learn the language, and learn how the system works. So for me, I went and struggled a lot. And I don't want any women or young lady to go through what I went through, or any men. So I created the nonprofit to have resources, number one, become a self-sufficient, and also become a homeowners. And that's when I started to get my real estate license, so I can walk them through credit building, something that we don't know nothing about, finding Islamic financing, conventional loans, and home buying process, giving them workshops, and start from scratch and walk them through until they get the key to their house. So that's something I'm really passionate about. We're just waking up, knowing that there's no way that nobody's gonna go back anytime soon, because our kids grew up here, we're gonna be here, so we need to adapt the culture and become a homeowners and become a self-sufficient and reach the American dream. So there's a lot of work that I do in terms of mentoring, coaching, and helping families become self-sufficient.
Wow, Fatun, that is absolutely amazing. You are so inspiring. And just for everyone on our call, I hope both Fatun and Sammy inspire everyone to step into their leadership. Fatun, just hearing the barriers that you've overcome, it's tremendous. And whatever our own life experience is, the two of you are these amazing examples of how you can use that life experience and use it to catalyze your leadership and use it to catalyze the leadership in others. So thank you for sharing all of that, Fatun. I want to invite Sammy back with us, and I have A couple more questions for each of you. And I think this question goes to the both of you, but I'll ask Sammy if you can jump in first here. So something that is on everybody's mind, that the COVID-19 pandemic unfortunately continues on. And we know the effects that it's had on all of us. I don't think there's one person here who has not lost somebody or has been affected tremendously by the pandemic. So we know that it has been completely isolating and challenging, especially around mental health. So how do you see civic leadership and showing up in your community as a way to combat the isolation that we are all facing now more than ever?
Yeah, definitely. I feel personally that civic engagement gave me an opportunity to connect with community on a level I had never before. I think in that isolation, we were all looking for ways to be able to engage with our neighbors and to get to know them better. And I think being involved on the Community First Public Safety Commission was an opportunity not only to do that work, but also like you mentioned, we had 48 members on our commission of just an amazing array of people from across our community, students, people engaged in business, people from nonprofits, anything you could think of. And it was an amazing opportunity to really get to know a bunch of new people who were committed to pushing St. Paul towards a better future. And, I think the pandemic also gave us opportunities on how to better this work and how to make it more inclusive and engaging. Through Zoom, I think we were able to engage a lot of folks who didn't have access to different pieces like this before. It made it a lot easier just to hop on and provide your feedback or your insight on an issue or your personal story. I think expanded civic engagement to a lot of people who were underrepresented before. So not only did it allow us to connect in different ways, it allowed us to bring a lot of new people into these spaces.
Thank you for sharing that. And Fatoon, a lot of what you talked about was around the isolation and the difficulty that you faced and making sure that nobody else goes through that again. So what is your perspective around how civic leadership can really help address the issues that we're all struggling around mental health?
Mental health is something that as immigrants, as East African and a lot of different countries in the world are in denial of. And it has happened. And when especially COVID-19 happened, a lot of families were, struggling with schools, with their kids. You're isolated in this little house with at least 4 to 12 kids. And it was really hard to navigate and help them when the parents are illiterate about computer usage and how to help their kids. So it was really hard. Mental health is something that you need to have somebody to talk to. You need to have somebody that you can trust. You need to find resources that is out there. But if you don't understand that you have a mental health, it's hard to even get help. So I created through the pandemic, when parents were not able to, or people were afraid to get into groups, WhatsApp, there's an app called WhatsApp. I created that. I had invited 75 mothers where most of them could not read and write, and they're not able to text or email. So I can voice record, send it, get your questions answered, motivate them, get resources through that, phone calls, supporting. And also I did a lot of driving by helping them get technical assistance with their computers and bringing food in front of their house when they got COVID-19 and they don't have support. So there was a lot of things that caused, and one of the stories that really touched me was when one of the mother took her life in the bathroom. She just hung herself. She couldn't handle it. And, people knew, but she was isolated. She was really isolated and she didn't have anybody. And she's gone. But I talked to women. I talked to them. You don't have to trust me. You don't have to trust your husband or your kids or your family members. Find somebody outside your community, a 1 or 2 person that don't know nothing about your family members or because there's a trust issue. Talk to your doctor. Your doctor is not going to share your personal information with anyone. So I encourage them to seek help, and I give them the resources, and I try to connect with them and different people that they don't know nothing about, so they can talk and speak and record. I even teach them that you can record and talk to yourself. Go to the bathroom, talk to yourself as a person, somebody's listening to you. If you're able to write journaling and do something. So there's a lot of things that I try to give them so they can cope with their mental health and COVID-19 and other stuff. So.
Wow, that is so powerful. Thank you for sharing that. And I think a lot of the strategies that you shared are strategies that we can make sure we're considering for ourselves, but that we're also passing the message along, Fatoon, that you are sharing with others. There's all these different ways to connect and address that social isolation. And I'll just say my work is in public health, and the #1 indicator of health is social isolation. Or are you socially isolated, or do you feel connected and a part of a community? So this is one of the most important things as a human being for health and for happiness. And I just want to share a little bit as well. I will tell you, as mayor, the #1 thing that I have seen, which is, and it's sad a little bit, but it's also encouraging, is that people just want to be seen. They want to be acknowledged. They want to be heard. They want to have self-determination. And we all are living in these little bubbles where we are focused on ourselves, where we do feel disconnected, and just doing little things like saying hi, opening the door, saying, I love your shirt, or your dog, you have a cute dog, or it doesn't matter. Go out there, be vulnerable, be nerdy. My partner says, oh my gosh, you just talk to everybody. Yes, I do, because I will tell you, it makes a difference to just connect with somebody. And you don't have to feel embarrassed or scared or nerdy. It doesn't matter. Everybody's starved for connection, and just connecting with somebody in a genuine, authentic way can be the difference between someone hurting themselves or somebody feeling happy or not, depressed or not. And it is just by connecting. So please just go out there and connect with folks at the grocery store. It doesn't matter where you are. Push yourself out of your comfort zone. We live in Minnesota. There's this concept of Minnesota nice, and really it's passive aggressive. It's not healthy. We need to break down that passive aggressive way that we treat each other and just connect. So I want to challenge everyone, please go out there and connect. And before we end our panel, I want to hear very quickly from Sammy and Fatoon, what's something that keeps you motivated in your leadership? Fatoon, if you want to, something that motivates you and keeps you going.
What motivates me is my kids. I lost my first 2. I have 4 that are, in my life makes my day bright every single day. And also knowing that I can contribute and make difference because of my experience, because of my knowledge, because of this connection that I have in this community and outside my community. And there's a lot of families and women that are struggling. So I am also writing my memoir so I can tell experience and my life experience to women of all over the world and nationally, so they can, if I did it as a woman from Africa who didn't speak any language when I got here and, went through what I went through, that she can do, anybody can do. and or he can do the work that is possible. It has to come from you. It has to be something that you're passionate about. You can make a difference in this world, and you can change somebody's life. So go out there, empower others, to empower yourself so you can empower others. That's what I am I'm passionate about what I do, and I love helping families. And that's what gets me going and motivates me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. And Sammy, what's something that motivates you to keep leading?
Yeah, I think it's my neighbors' personal stories. And I think I'll relate this to a personal story of my own where back in 2018, I had my first experience working on a local political campaign. And through that, I was spending my summer door knocking, a lot of it through St. Paul. And it was one of the most impactful experiences I've had because it was an opportunity to meet so many people I would have never had an opportunity to see before and just hear their stories. And I learned how powerful a personal story is in shaping the work we do, in changing people's minds and perspectives, and pushing us forward into the future. So that's why I think I lean so heavily on that to do this work, because the work we do is guided by our neighbors' personal stories and their hopes and dreams for the future. So I would definitely say that that's one of the big things that keeps me pushing forward and wanting to do this work.
Absolutely. And something that I've heard along as a thread from everything that the both of you have been saying, but I also know to be true, is when you shift your perspective from yourself or something that's ego-based, something where you need affirmation from the external or what other people are saying, to owning your power, your leadership, and your authenticity, but being connected to something greater than yourself, that is the biggest motivator that can help you overcome anything. And both of you have talked about something bigger than yourself and how you are a part of that and contributing to that, and how regardless of the barrier, when you know your why, which is bigger than yourself, the amount of impact you can have on your life, but in the lives of your community. So that was something I heard from both of you along the whole way as a motivator. So what is that why, and what is that idea that is greater than yourself that can help motivate you? So thank you for that. We are so inspired by the both of you. Thank you for sharing your stories, and I hope that it has inspired so many people who are here today to step into their own leadership. So before we end, I'm going to pass it back to Kate for a few remarks.
Thank you so much, Sammy and Fatoon and Maria, for your personal stories, those journeys, those for being vulnerable with each other and with us today. When I listened, I heard this theme that none of us do this alone. And I started picturing with each individual nominated, I pictured a door opening through that individual to a huge room of people, this fabric of connection that each person has. No one does this alone. Everyone who was nominated, Sammy, Fatoon both shared examples of you were mentored by others, you had support, you had champions, and now you are mentoring and supporting others and working in partnership and in community with others. And being willing to ask for help and say, let's do this together. So I invite you, if you're on today, join or go to our website. If you have a minute, check out all our nominees and read more about them and the great things that they're involved with. If you're able, consider supporting in any way that you can one of the issues or causes or projects that our nominees are connected to. If you see something that resonates with you, reach out, take that step, get involved. And while you're at it, I want to encourage you to consider supporting the Citizens League as well. We are passionate about this work. We are passionate about connecting with people and encouraging people to step into their power, step into their voice in civic life and do what they can. And so we invite you to join with us. You'll see the links here, and you can get them on our website as well. And they're in the chat too. Huge thanks to our Citizens League team, amazing colleagues that we have at the Citizens League, and especially Kalia Zhang. Kalia, your leadership of MN Civic Leader this year was remarkable and wonderful, and we are grateful to have you as a leader for this project and to consider you a colleague. Thank you. And I want to thank you all for joining us today. We at the Citizens League are always working to improve our events and make sure that they're really connecting with you. And so we're going to drop a link into the chat and momentarily here with a little survey. It would really mean a lot to us if you'd tell us what you thought of today's event, what you thought about this campaign, and how we can make it better next time. Hopefully we'll have a third annual. It's a short survey. It'll take no more than a couple minutes of your time. So I will turn it back to Maria and our two panelists just for a little closing bit before we go to our PowerPoint of all the nominees' photos.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Kate. So today's event is about hearing empowering stories from our neighbors of how they've stepped into their leadership and to catalyze action. So Sammy and Fatoon, give me one little thing that you think everybody here can do today to get started immediately today to growing in their civic leadership.
Well, just start smiling and saying hi. You know, it doesn't matter if you know the person or not. Greeting, smiling, getting to know your neighbor, who they are, how you can help. That's something that would be really nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd say just get out in your community and meet people. I'm reminded of the aftermath of the protests in summer of 2020 when I walked down University Avenue the morning after and saw just folks leaving their houses and coming together to clean up. And it was incredibly powerful to me. And so I really think the best way to start and to really make an impact on your community is to just get out, meet your neighbors, and help with something.
Absolutely. And I want to invite everybody who is on the call today, please jump in on the chat and give examples of how you think people can get involved today and start in their leadership immediately today. And I would just say, echoing what both Sammy and Fatoon said, say hi to somebody, connect, be kind, give a compliment, just start to connect with whoever is around you. And if you're at your home by yourself, go do something, go to a park, you know, the closest park to your house, and connect with someone there. So as we close today, please jump in, folks, and add how people can get engaged in their leadership today, starting today. And we invite you to stick around. We're going to be sharing presentations from all of our nominees so that you can see and learn more about the tremendous work being done by amazing civic leaders all over the state. Of course, I promise you that they are inspiring folks. And remember, what is one thing you can do to make our community better? And what is something you can do and contribute in your own way? So as a quick reminder before we go, please complete the survey. It's in the chat. It will take 2 minutes. And thank you so much for joining us today. Enjoy our PowerPoint featuring all of our nominees who embody what it means to be a civic leader and who show us that we can all make a difference, even in the smallest way. And don't be afraid to be vulnerable, to mess up, to just practice your leadership and grow it. I hope that you heard from each of our stories today. That is how we became leaders, and that is how we have each impacted the lives of so many people, not because we knew all of the right things and what to do and when, but just because we were brave and bold enough and vulnerable enough to start trying to lead in partnership with others from a place of humility and authenticity. So I encourage all of you to please do the same. We are all leaders. Thank you, everyone.